If you've never seen a boat before it's all put together, then today is your day, because we're going to go and look at a 43-foot Motion that is in that exact stage. The boat is literally just the hull, and this is a relatively new thing for me as well, because I really don't know that much about race boats or race engines. Checking out the engines and the drives that are going to be going in the boat though, these are two Mercury Racing 860s. And just to get a little context and a little bit about the specs about these engines, if we look at their website over here, we've got 860 horsepower engines. It looks like they're naturally aspirated and they're a 9-liter, which is a huge bore, and it looks like they can run on 89 octane or Rec 90, which would be non-ethanol, with an RPM range of 6,300 to 6,800 RPM. What else do we got going on here? It looks like they got a 95 amp alternator on there, which is pretty good. Looks like they can actually run on 87 octane, which is going to be more towards your ethanol blended fuel, which is pretty interesting. Drive units, normally an M6. Looks like they got a 2-year limited for recreational warranty on them. I don't know how much one of these things would cost brand new. And they weigh about 1,420 pounds, about 1,500 pounds. Here's the two drives that you can put on there. You got an M8 or an M6, which is what he's got to put on here is an M6, which has got a twin pinion gear shaft design. That's pretty interesting. 1,650 horsepower input torque rating of 1,600 foot-pounds. That is just ridiculous. But when we're actually looking at the engines, outside of being a Mercury engine, 860 horsepower, I really don't know that much about them. I mean, looks like we've got a single coil here for each one of the cylinders. That makes it nice for changing out those ignition coils if one goes bad. Fuel cooler. So I've got a fuel cooler down here. I mean, these fuel lines are just huge. And what else? I mean, all these sensors. It's really a Mercury. You got a terminator here, fuse box, pretty much your standard Mercury sensors. A fuel pump down there. Starter. What else we got going on over here? Another fuel pump, the alternator. And then when we're looking at the M6 drives here, look at these prop shafts. These are just huge when you compare them to a normal drive shaft. These are probably like 1.5 inches, if not maybe a little bit bigger, which is massive compared to your normal lower unit prop shaft. Got a pointy nose cone. The drive shaft assembly here. Then here's where the drive shaft goes into the engine here. And then we got some more sensors here. Again, your normal Mercury sensors. Pretty standard stuff here. You got your power steering. Yep, that's your power steering plug. Your belt assembly, crank position sensor here, which I think this is the same crank position sensor that they use on almost all their engines, which is pretty nice. Then these intakes, you got your throttle body on the bottom here of this one, throttle body on this one. I think they call this a ram intake with it bent back like that. Got some wonderful color coding here. Got the yellow for the engine oil, the drive lube, the steering fluid, and the coolant, the belt routing. What we got here? Some specs. Actually looks like they got the wide open throttle RPM at 6,000 to 7,000. And here's the props that are going on the boat. We got a Mercury Racing 16.5 by 39 pitch props. Looks like they're rated for 850 horsepower. You got 5 blade prop. I mean, look at the leading edge here. It's just slick. But then when we move over to start looking at the boat is just as ridiculous as the engines are. But just standing at the back of the boat, you really can't see how big it really is. It's all new, so the drives still have to get cut in and installed, but it's just got that slick race boat look in the back to it. And the thing is 43 foot long, so it's just incredible to walk down the side of the gunnel here just looking at it. But when you step back from it, you could really see the perspective of how long it really is. And then when you look at the bottom of it, down each one of these holes, you can see there's just all these steps in it. There's like 8 steps all the way down the whole thing. Look at that. One here, and there's another one here, and then another one here. There's like 5 steps all the way down the hull, creating all that aeration to get the boat out of the water and let it release from the water. And something that I always liked about these kinds of boat is just the way that they look from the front. They've just got that look with the 2 holes coming off both sides of it. They just look awesome. It's still got to get all the windows put into it. It doesn't have any of the seats or any of that stuff in it yet. It's just a straight up hull. Back here where the engines go, we still got to mount the engines. All that stuff's got to get put in. I'm gonna hop down here in the engine bay and take a look, see what's going on down here. In here, looks like we got the fuel tanks, got a fuel cylinder there, both the pickups. And look at everything in here in the cockpit. We got no seats or anything put in it yet. But then when you look down these tunnels, I mean, you don't realize how far up they go. All these pockets to go up in through here. You got 1, 2, 3 different compartments all the way to the front before you hit the 2 points on the end, in the front of the boat. I know he's talking about putting air conditioning and a bunch of other stuff in the boat. Again, looking through here, all these tunnels that you got to crawl through in order to get up here. You really won't use anything up in the front. None of that'll ever get used for anything. It's just their structure and part of the boat. But you use this little part right here, this little cabin area, for different stuff. Come back out here into the cockpit. We have a bench seat going across the back here. All that stuff's getting made right now. The windshields gotta get put in, which is why you'll want to subscribe to the channel if you're new, and if you haven't already, join the community at bornagainboating.com, so that way you can keep up with what's going on and then also see progress as this boat gets put together, as well as the ride once it's all together to see how this boat performs once it's all done. We want to thank you all for hanging out with us this week, and we look forward to seeing you next week.